Good evening, I'm Annabelle Tiffin. Welcome to Friday's North West Tonight. Our top story. Criticism as Blackpool Pleasure Beach scraps free admission for unpaid carers. The attraction says it will now charge £25 for some people accompanying people with disabilities. Also tonight, it'll create thousands of new jobs and homes, but Greater Manchester's Silicon Valley isn't without controversy. An ice bit of funding, a financial boost for Preston's wheelchair curling club as the Paralympics gets underway in the Alps. And Love, Love Peru, the Beatles tribute band on a Cavern Club pilgrimage from Lima to Liverpool.
And it's been a much cooler feeling day today. Just look at those gloomy skies in Cleveland. But is the weekend looking any better? Join me at the end of the programme. I'll have the full forecast.
One of the UK's most popular theme parks opens up again after the winter this weekend, but Blackpool Pleasure Beach is facing criticism over a change affecting some disabled visitors and their carers. The attraction will now start charging some carers a £25 entry fee. One disability charity is urging bosses to reconsider, as Anna Jameson reports.
It's one of the UK's most loved attractions. And in a matter of hours, the gates will open for a brand new season. But before the rides have even started, there's controversy.
I don't think they should be paying to go on the Pleasure Beach. £25 is ridiculous. I'm a carer. I care for my son Adrian, and I don't get paid.
And that £25 fee affects people with Nimbus accessibility cards. These changes won't affect the professional paid care support workers, including teaching staff on school trips. But those people who look after others for free will now have to pay.
Listen, anybody that's charging people, that's looking after people, to try and give them a good time, if you like, if they're going to the Pleasure Beach and they're now going to start charging them, how can that be right?
Imagine if you went in with that child and they became overwhelmed and you were literally there for half an hour to pay that amount of money, potentially just for half an hour, mean the difference between like a family deciding whether they go or whether they don't.
And that's something Hayley in Bispam knows all too well. Her 8-year-old son Harrison has ADHD and sensory needs.
We got the letter, I think it was the email on the 2nd of March, and they said we'll now have to pay £25 per visit. I said, well, this is obviously going to cost me more money because he's got a season pass. And they said, well, you can buy a season pass. I said, well, that's not the point of it. The point of it was that I brought it in case my son couldn't cope with the environment or anything around him and we needed to leave suddenly.
There will inevitably be charges for people like parents who look after children for free.
Yeah, and we do understand that upset. We've worked very closely with Nimbus on this to ensure that we're following all the right policies. The current policy was unsustainable at this moment in time for the leisure and hospitality industry in general.
Can you see their perspective though?
Why do they have to be in line with other attractions? They could stand out and be something better than the other ones that are charging.
Bosses say existing bookings made before the 2nd of March won't be affected. Anna Jameson, BBC North West Tonight in Blackpool.
A roundup of some of the day's other news now, and an investigation into the murder of John Soyoi, a 16-year-old who was attacked with machetes in Manchester, has led to the arrest of a 25-year-old Portuguese man in Lisbon. 6 other men and a teenager were convicted of John's murder 5 years ago. Data published today shows that United Utilities used more bailiffs to recover debt from customers than any other water company in England and Wales. It instructed just under 10,000 enforcement agents in 2024. The company says it only takes action against people with the means to pay. Bernard Manning's world-famous Embassy Club is staging its final comedy night this evening before it is demolished to make way for a health centre. The controversial comic opened the Manchester venue in 1959. The site in Harper Hay was put up for sale 7 years after he died in 2007. A report on Liverpool's Premier League victory parade last year has recommended tighter regulation of pyrotechnics in public places and powers to prevent climbing on potentially dangerous places like scaffolding. The independent report says overall the event was well planned, but doesn't address the incident in which a car was driven at people, because that was dealt with in court. Our Merseyside reporter Andy Gill has the details.
The parade last May was on an unprecedented scale. An estimated 1.2 million people were in Liverpool, more than twice the city's usual population. The report author says planning was effective, but predicting such numbers would have been difficult.
If there was any weakness, it was probably around the numbers that attended. But as I say in the report quite clearly, I don't think anybody without the remarkable benefit of hindsight would have predicted the sort of numbers that they got that day.
One of the main recommendations of the report is that events on this massive scale should be treated not just as local events, but as national or international ones as well. That would allow the planners to monitor advance hotel and rail bookings on a much wider geographical scale to help them with their preparations. The report says 146 people were treated for injuries before the incident in which Paul Doyle drove his car at people. The most common problem was burns, and a government clampdown on importing flares and smoke bombs is among the recommendations.
Once they're on the street and in use, they're very difficult to tackle. So if we can reduce through legislation the ease at which you can currently buy those online and import them, then I think that would make a big difference.
The report also says councils should have more powers to force building owners to make sure people can't climb on them. These are ideas backed by the council leader.
It's how we kind of give people the messages that whilst it might seem like something that's enjoyable to do, it is a real risk. It is a pyrotechnic, it's hot, there is a burn risk, but also it detracts from everyone else's enjoyment.
The report says there were some problems. The council's crowd density chart was too simple, there were communications issues, and there were delays in decisions and actions on the ground. Liverpool is due to host the Tour de France next year, and the report author says it's important that such large-scale events do continue.
Division and anger and frustration is so great that actually giving people the opportunity to come together, to be together and celebrate something are opportunities we should take as often as we can.
Andy Gill, BBC North West Tonight, Liverpool.
Some more stories being read in the North West this evening. People on the Isle of Man could earn up to £2,500 tax-free by opening their homes to visitors during the TT Festival. It's to help meet the huge demand for accommodation. Harry Styles fans have been working in the community to get a place at Harry Styles' one-off show in Manchester tonight. 200 fans from around the world did voluntary work in exchange for tickets. School children in St Helens will be entitled to get £50 towards new uniforms. The council's scheme is the first of its kind in the Liverpool City region and was agreed in the budget. You can find out more about those stories and others at bbc.uk/local news or on the BBC News app. The Conservative leader says she would keep the two-child benefit cap to invest more in defence. Kem Badenoch was visiting the military manufacturer KNDS in Stockport today and said defence should be prioritised over welfare. The Labour government has announced that the cap would be scrapped from April and would lift more than 400,000 children out of poverty. I spoke to Kem Badenoch earlier.
Today, I'm saying that the two-child benefit cap should stay so we can use that money into defence. We would be able to get enough to do things like increase our troops by 20,000, 6,000 regulars, 14,000 reserves, make sure that they're properly equipped. But we want to move money from welfare into defence because, as we can see, the world is getting a lot more dangerous.
And what would you say to the 35% of children that live in the North West who live in relative poverty that you want to take away some of the welfare that they rely on?
So I would say that people in poverty get out of poverty with jobs. And the reason why we're seeing more poverty is because a lot of their parents are losing their jobs. Unemployment has increased every single month since Labour came into office.
Many of these families that get this benefit, as you know, are working families.
What I'm saying is that the hours that many of those people are working are not enough. They're not good jobs. That's why they need the welfare. They're working, I know some people just a handful of hours a week. That is not proper work. We want to get people into proper jobs with proper wages.
We haven't spoken to you since the Gorton and Denton by-election. Your candidate lost her deposit. It was the worst parliamentary by-election result ever for the Conservatives. What do you put that down to?
Well, we've only just come out of 14 years of government where we had a historic defeat. I remember in 2012 we had a by-election again in Manchester where we lost our deposit. We went on to win the election after that. What we saw was a seat which Labour had held since 1931 comfortably. They fell to third in that seat. That is the real story.
Well, boundary changes changed it. In 2019, before the boundary changes, it still included Denton, it still included Gorton, and you came second in 2019.
Yes, but in 2019 we had a majority. Things have changed since 2019. We've had an election after that. We should be talking about the 2024 election result. What we saw was a Green Party coming out of nowhere to take the seat from Labour, who have a historic majority. That is the real story.
Is your party relevant here in the North West?
Absolutely, because there's only one party that's actually talking about how we solve the problems. Labour are only talking about more welfare and breakfast clubs at a time when the news is a potential a war. We are being dragged into that. They've got no answers. There's only one party that has an answer, that's thinking about these things, and we are.
But they don't think you have the answer because they didn't vote for you.
Well, actually, what they are saying is that they like our policies. They are concerned because we haven't earned the trust back yet. That's a different thing.
Who's
it's
saying
about
they like
trust.
your policies? That people didn't vote for the Conservatives.
Well, people they love our policy on abolishing stamp duty. They love the policy on abolishing business rates on the high street. People in the North West have told me that. We're winning by-elections in other parts.
Why didn't they vote for you then?
Well, because what they were voting for is who was best placed to get Labour out. That's why.
That was Kem Badenoch, the Conservative leader, speaking to me earlier today. Now, we all know someone in our communities who go just that little bit further to make things a little bit better for others. And it's those people who BBC local radio stations are looking for so that they can be recognised at the Make a Difference Awards. The nomination period is now open. And to give us some details on how you can enter and what they are all about, we're joined by our old friends, you know what I mean, BBC Radio Lancashire's Graham Liver and one of last year's winners, Maya from Manchester. Great to see you both. Maya, you won last year for Radio Manchester's Young Hero Award, didn't you? Just give us an idea of why you won it.
So a few years back, I was diagnosed with a life-threatening brain tumour and I needed emergency brain surgery to save my life. And then afterwards, I was told that I would have to undergo radiotherapy treatment. And I realised I didn't want to look back and remember that part of my life and treatment as just negativity and sadness. So I decided, since it was actually September, which is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, I would take my mind off the treatment by raising money and spreading awareness for childhood cancer.
So what did you do?
I did a running challenge. I ran a total of 100 kilometres throughout my treatment.
That's incredible. And had you run before? Were you a runner?
No, and I hated running.
I hate running as well. How was it, though, to win when they called out your name?
Winning felt incredible. It was just absolutely amazing. And, you know, it made me realise that I'd reached my goal that I'd set at the start. And it was absolutely incredible being surrounded by everyone.
And, well, Graham, as we said, an old friend to the programme.
Stop the old.
Yes. Yeah. You set up these awards, what, how many, seven years or something?
The Make a Difference Awards was born at Radio Lancashire, where I did the breakfast show, and we've done it for the past 9 years. For the past 4 years, we've launched it across all BBC local radio, so on Radio Lancashire, Radio Manchester, Merseyside and Cumbria. And people like Maya, it is our chance, as the BBC of the North West, to say thank you to amazing people who fundraise, who are carers, who look after where they live, who just care where they live.
Because so often these people do get unnoticed, don't they, for all the great work they do. Do you ever get blasé about the people that are nominated?
It's brilliant, and the thing about the Make a Difference Awards, it's an awards do for people who don't go to them. People in the North West, people from Lancashire don't like to make a song and dance about it. They do it because it's a nice thing to do. So it's your chance to nominate
Oh,
someone.
well, the important thing is we've got about 30 seconds. How can you enter?
Nominations are open now, and you can go to bbc.co.uk/make-a-difference, where you can see all the full terms and privacy notice. Nominations close on Tuesday, the 31st of March at 5 p.m. So get nominating now. bbc.co.uk/make-a-difference.
Wonderful. And Maya, I have to ask, do you still run?
No. And right now, since I'm in year 10, my main focus is my GCSEs.
Of course,
good luck.
Yes. Good luck with those. And good luck with the Make a Difference
Thank you.
Awards. You won't need it, but thank you so much. Lovely to see you on the sofa again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, later this year, the first part of a huge development for the North West is due to open. It's hoped around 20,000 people will eventually work in what's known as Atom Valley at 3 sites across Greater Manchester. They'll be working with materials like graphene, developed in Manchester, of course, and the strongest substance known to humankind. Here's Phil McCann.
Media City, Salford. A hub for media, jobs for thousands who are in the north and not London. A site that 20 years ago was waste ground. Atom Valley. That's what this site and 2 others along the M62 are meant to become. Doing the same as Media City, but for advanced manufacturing, making things with stuff like graphene, the strongest substance known to man, developed in Manchester.
This is the place, Atom Valley, where graphene and other materials will go into mass production. It will be a global cluster.
This, on the outskirts of Rochdale, is the first major development in Atom Valley, which eventually will be across 3 sites where the mayor's been granted special government powers to drive investment. As well as workplaces, there'll be 7,000 homes. The other 2 sites are in Oldham and here near Simister in Bury. But unlike at Media City, this isn't waste ground.
All the fields you can see are going to be gone.
Joe lives the other side of the motorway in Simister, a village which still feels like a village because it's surrounded by fields.
Let alone, obviously, the beautiful views that you can see, but obviously the wildlife that all this supports is just going to be gone. Don't make any sense.
What we've got to remember with this scheme, it's not about warehouses, it's not just a predominantly housing scheme. This is going to be a centre of excellence for sustainable materials and engineering.
What's being built at the Rochdale site is a special centre for new high-tech advanced materials companies so they can scale up their operations. And this is an advanced materials company that wants to scale up. Chromission is developing a luminous substance that makes detecting cancer more effective and less invasive. At the moment it's based in Stockport and here at Alderley Park in Cheshire.
Essentially, Atom Valley is a cluster where you have cross-fertilisation of ideas, of capabilities, and only through that collaboration we will be able to deliver for the region.
But the criticism often made of Media City, and often rejected, is that it's employed a lot of people who've moved in, but not enough of those already living nearby.
We need to learn from that and make sure there are really clear paths for young people growing up in Rochdale, but Oldham, other surrounding areas, into the really good jobs in these places, because it's critically linked to my plans for an equal alternative to the university route.
The roads, named after some of Britain's most famous inventors, make Atom Valley's ambition here clear. This first part of it, the nucleus if you like, is due to open in the summer. Phil McCann, BBC North West Tonight.
Very exciting development and exciting football this weekend, Ian. FA Cup 5th round, isn't it, I believe? Yes. Yeah. And Manchester City, well, hoping that they're not going to be... Do I mean Manchester City?
No, you mean Liverpool, don't you?
You see, it's my throat.
I know,
I'm not with it at all. Liverpool...
Yeah.
Do not want a second defeat to Wolves, I know that much.
Yeah, you do. They were stunned by the Premier League's bottom club on Tuesday in a defeat that slightly derailed their hopes of finishing in the Champions League places. But while it all ended up as doom and gloom at Molineux 3 days ago, a win tonight would take Liverpool into the quarter-finals of a competition they last won in 2022.
We always find every trophy we can win very important. We try to win it, as we've always tried at this club. And of course, for us, qualification for Champions League is massive, as we all know. But that's not on the line. The FA Cup is on the line, and that's a massive game for us.
We'll see what happens. If you want to hear what happens in that game and other Cup and EFL games this weekend, here's how you can.
Can Liverpool turn the tables on Wolves after their defeat on Tuesday? They play tonight at Molineux in the FA Cup. Kick-off is at 8 o'clock on BBC Sounds.
Manchester City head to Newcastle United in the 5th round of the FA Cup.
Listen live on BBC Radio Manchester and BBC Sounds.
Here in Lancashire, we're live from Ewood Park for the 12:30 kick-off tomorrow with strugglers Blackburn Rovers taking on Portsmouth.
Well, it's a must-win game for Preston North End tonight if they're to reignite their increasingly faint playoff hopes in the Championship. Having lost at home to Millwall last week, they're back at Deepdale tonight, where they'll host second-bottom Oxford. And continuing the must-win theme, Barrow AFC are at Cheltenham Town tonight in League Two after a dismal run of results that's left them next to bottom. I'll be filming at Bloomfield Road tomorrow as Blackpool host Wigan Athletic in an all-North West League One relegation tussle. Moving on from football and in Super League, and how much do Lee Leopards need a confidence-boosting win as they host Catalan Dragons tonight, which follows last week's thrashing by Wigan when they were admittedly beset by injuries. Meanwhile, Warrington Wolves, who made it 2 wins from 2 when they beat Wakefield last weekend, are at newly promoted York Knights. Both those matches start at 8 o'clock. Well, the Winter Paralympics opening ceremony is taking place this evening, where visually impaired Cheshire alpine skier Menna Fitzpatrick will be one of Great Britain's flag bearers. The 27-year-old from Macclesfield has 6 Paralympic medals, winning gold in slalom in 2018. She's competing tomorrow. Among the other sports at the Games is wheelchair curling, with curling itself continuing to grow in popularity, especially after the recent Winter Olympics. Ollie Samuels has been to Preston, the region's undisputed home of curling, to meet some wheelchair curlers.
They call it chess on ice.
In wheelchair curling, we use a stick to push the stone. It's called delivering the stone. There is no brushing of the stone, so you've got to be a little bit more skilled in your delivery.
Preston Wheelchair Curling Club started in 2018 when the north of England's only dedicated curling hall opened at the Flower Bowl Entertainment Centre near Garstang. Curlers travel from across the northwest to play here. 4 of them have gone on to represent England. The club's just had a £1,500 grant from Lancashire County Council, which may sound small, but the club says it will make an incredible difference to what they do.
We can get more involved in competitions, we can buy more equipment, we can get new clothing that helps keep us warm, and it just helps the club evolve and get us out there and get the word out better.
They're a small club, just 12 members, and for the curlers, it's just as much about the social side as it is the sport.
This group are full of characters, and you've probably seen already tonight. They're a super bunch. As a coach, they're willing to learn and listen as well, which is good.
If you want to get involved, come and join us, that's all I can say. Because it was like a sport I didn't think I could do, but I give it a go, and I've been 3 years down the line. I've been to Scotland playing, yeah, give it a try.
Ollie Samuels, BBC Northwest Tonight, Garstang.
Excellent stuff. And that, my friends, is all the sports. Annabelle, back to you. Hopefully your voice gets a little bit better.
Thank you very much.
Whiskey and lemon.
Lots of hot water under the desk. Thank you. Now, we've all heard the saying, don't give up on your dreams. And for a Beatles tribute band from Peru, that couldn't be more accurate. Los Mapaches are getting ready to play at the famous Cavern Club in Liverpool tomorrow, after the club's owner heard their plea on BBC Radio Merseyside last week. Mairead Smith reports.
As calls for help go, the answer to this one is quite remarkable.
Piero, tell me about getting that call to say that you were going to play on stage at the Cavern.
Yeah, it was something magical. Like, we got it while we were on the radio. Like a dream come true. We didn't really, we never thought about getting that gig, you know, and it's obviously every band's dream to play the Cavern Club. It was amazing.
This is like the biggest gig of our Beatle band career, right? Yeah. I think people are cheering for us back at home.
Normally, a gig like this takes months to secure.
It's kind of the crazy world of the Cavern Club. Things happen in the Cavern that don't happen elsewhere. So when that opportunity came up to get the guys here, it was lovely for us, and we know how much it means to the guys from Peru.
We've been together for like 11 years. And we grew up together, obviously we're brothers. But Jevin, I met Jevin personally 2 weeks ago, and we've been practicing since.
So 3 brothers from Peru and a drummer from Barrow. How did you get in on the act?
Yes, I bumped into these guys in the street. They said, do you know any drummers? I said, well, funnily enough, you know, I happen to be a drummer, yes, and a massive Beatles fan.
The band have been busy visiting Beatles sites around Liverpool.
It's such a huge thing for us. There's music everywhere, and just like you think about like the Beatles, like the places we visited, that they've been there. It's just crazy.
And they've even gone viral on social media. But tomorrow's gig at the Cavern tops anything they've ever done, making their fans and parents proud. Mairead Smith, BBC Northwest Tonight, Liverpool.
They sound just like them. They sound really good, don't they? Right, better than me anyway. Let's get a look at the weather.
This weather is not helping you at the moment, is it? It's not helping your throat.
Not really.
It's going to get a little bit better at the weekend, but it has been cold out there today. In fact, there was some snow on the highest ground, and this was how it looked towards Kendal. But for most of us, it was a largely cloudy day. It did dry up, but actually a beautiful day on the Isle of Man. They have plenty of sunshine there. Thank you very much for your photos. So the weekend, it is looking like we will hold on to a lot of cloud. It is going to be mainly dry. We'll have a bit of rain here and there, and the best of the brightness on Saturday morning. Tonight, though, if you are heading out, it is going to be a largely dry picture. You'll be very unlucky if you do see any rain. That cloud thinning, and we will have clearer spells developing into the night, but that means temperatures are going to drop. We could see temperatures drop to around 1 to 2 degrees Celsius, and we could see it reach freezing. Now, this is the picture for tomorrow. My graphics just jumped a little bit slightly there. You can see actually there will be plenty of brightness in the forecast towards the north, so towards Cumbria, the Isle of Man, especially along the coast towards the Fylde coast, but actually cloud will increase as we head into the rest of the day, and it will be a bit of a cloudier picture. A little bit of light patchy rain, but I'd say dry for most. Highs of around 10 degrees, 11 degrees Celsius, and we will have more continued spells of rain into Sunday. Won't be particularly heavy. A bit more cloud in the forecast for Sunday, mainly affecting western areas, those showers, but staying quite changeable into next week, Annabelle.
So we shouldn't have got complacent when we had that lovely sunny weather for 2 days, which we thought was the beginning of spring.
Bring it back, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. That is it from us for this evening. Nick is here with your late bulletin at 10:30. For now, though, bye-bye.